Well, hello there. It is day 5 of 21 days of finding peace in times of great change. And I have a question for you guys. Have you ever felt like the weight of someone else's happiness relies on you? Have you ever felt like you're not doing enough in the world and you really take on the suffering of others? Have you ever felt as though it's just it's just for your culture or your sexual orientation or for your whatever it is to actually care a lot? And that did you ever think that only good people care a lot? So I'm saying hi, beautiful, right back to all of you. And thank you for all the beautiful greetings. I'd love you to put your name and where you're hailing from. And what is your word, people? What's the word of the day? Because today is all about transcending, freeing yourself from this idea of carrying others. Now, a lot of people care. I remember once my mother told me a story. She had had breast cancer a while back. And hi to everybody all over the world as you're jumping in. Make sure you tell a friend, bring a friend. Let's calm the nervous system of this globe together. Nice to see all these new faces. Nice to see all my favorite people as well who always come and help just amplify the vibe. So everyone is welcome. Just so happy to have you all here. Okay. I want to say, I want to share some symptoms first before I share about my mom. Here are some symptoms. Okay. Neck and shoulder tension. Just put a check mark. I'm going to say, I'm going to recite 5 different characteristics, and I'm going to tell you what these characteristics are from. Okay. First thing is neck and shoulder tension. I'd say on and off, but neck and shoulder tension. Sometimes get reactive when you don't want to. So that you sometimes get reactive when you don't want to get reactive. Point 3, that you actually go into your head a lot to try to figure out how something can work instead of letting the brilliant ideas come to you. So sometimes you go into your head and you're cerebral. You think about things so much to try to figure something out. Okay, so that's symptom number 3. Characteristic number 4 is that you can find yourself in a place where it's almost like you get so myopic about what you're up to, you ignore the rest of your life. So you get very, very myopic. You get really focused in on something that is almost like a little kind of crucially, or at least you feel like it's crucially important. And the 5th one is my favorite one. See if this is you as well. The 5th one is some part of your identity or some part of your personality really gets off on helping others. It's not you're giving from your overflow. Sometimes you do that, I'm sure. But I am talking about there's a part of your personality that actually really feels better about yourself because you've determined that good people actually care about other people, and often it's at the expense of yourself. So does anyone have that where you've cared, even if you don't do it now, did you ever do that? Where you cared so deeply about others that it was actually at the expense of your own well-being? Yes? No? Love to hear. So all of those characteristics all of those, and I see all of you going, "Yes." Yes, yes, and I can feel it. Listen, to some degree we do many of these things, but I wanna talk about carrying for a moment. I'm gonna use my mom as an example, God bless, and I'm gonna finish up today's story with a story about my dad, because something happened recently that was so cool. So my mom got breast cancer, about 5 years, 6 years back, something like that, and when she got breast cancer, what was really interesting was that, she knows what I do for a living, and she asked me, "Jennifer, what you talk about neuroplasticity and you talk about epigenetics, meaning how we think affects our physiology. And you talk about the fact that genes can change because if you change, the genes that express exchange change." And I'm like, "Yes, they do." So she said, "What do you think me getting breast cancer I had to do? What did that have to do with?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. Tell me the greatest worry that you have." And she says, "A worry about you kids." Remember, she's 80 years old at this point, and we're in our 50s. So, and she says, I worry about you kids." And I said, "Uh-huh." I said, "So you carry us?" And she says, "No, no, 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 no. No, I'm a mother. This is just what we do." She said, "What we do is we just worry about you." And I said, "But mom," and she goes, "It's love. It's love. Worry equals love." And I said, "No, mom. Worry equals worry. Love equals love." She said, "Well, I don't know how to disentangle the two." And I said, "Well, that's fascinating because if you could disentangle the two and you could actually simply love us, which I know you do, but if you put your energy into the love, that would be different because if you knew that worry said to" my mother's, more a church lady, so I said it in terms of God. I said, "If you knew like you knew, and you had faith that God, in my case, the universe, consciousness, physics, had my back in every way, and don't you think that?" And she goes, "Yes." I said, "Well, then what does your worry add?" You know, isn't it when you know that I've got this and you know I've got my own connection to the divine, if you knew that for me, isn't that an act of love? Instead of worry, which is kind of the opposite of that, where you're actually saying to God, creation, consciousness, the universe, the laws of physics, law of attraction, whatever you want to call it, you're saying then that you're not really sure that I have this. You're not really confident that I have this, right? So then I said to her, "Mom, is this blowing your circuits?" And she said, "I'm 80 years old." I said, "You can change at any time. Your epigenetics, your biology will shift." And she said to me, "Well, can't I just," and we'll talk about health issues too for those of you that are submitting health issues into the feed. And thank you everyone for sharing. I read them all. Like I'm reading them as we're going here. So one of the things that I said to her is, "Can you delineate?" She said, "No." I said, "Okay, mom, I'm gonna make an exception in your case because I don't think you want to stop. I think you're very committed to worrying." She said, "I am committed to worrying." I said, "Okay, because that's what you're doing. You're worrying." So I said to her, "This is never what I would do with a client." She laughed. I said, "But I'm gonna ask you, what would have you worry less?" She said, "If you called me like 3, 4 times a week." I said, "Done." I said, "But to a client, I would never say we have to change the circumstances in order for you to feel better because then you'll be a victim the rest of your life." But I love calling my mother, so I call her 5 times a week and she worries less. I want you to know, however, that that is not what I'm teaching today. That is not what we're talking about today. That is not what I'm communing with you about today. It's not where we're at. Changing your circumstances can take the edge off, but ultimately, either you're in your connection to your greater wisdom, like what we did on the first, second, and third day, or you are actually running around carrying yourself. Remember the 5 characteristics we just shared? If you just joined us, go back and listen to the 5 characteristics, and you'll know whether you're carrying. I'm gonna go through them real fast so you know, right? So that is neck and shoulder tension, getting okay, like, basically worrying about others or feeling really overly capable, so you do everything, and just because you can doesn't mean you should, but you do it anyways. Sometimes you do that at the expense of yourself, right? These are some of the characteristics of someone who carries. And what it does is it affects your epigenetics. My mother carried it to the nth degree. She carried carrying. And for me, and there is going to be a solution in this conversation. I promise you we will get to a resolution, but I also wanted to share something, I was talking to a client earlier. She's working on a big project. She's a doctor. And she's got there's a startup that she's involved with. And this startup is going to be pretty spectacular. It would change the face of medicine. It's very, very cool. And there's someone that she loves to work with, but this person may not continue at the company. And she's like, no. And there was a vibe of, even though this may not be her particular vibe, but I've seen this before with other clients where, like, what's the company going to do without the person? And all of a sudden there's this energy of carrying the company. And then it's like, but she's my right hand. And then you start carrying yourself. And what carrying really looks like is listen, everybody breathe. Come with me for a moment here. Come with me for a moment. Carrying, this is the best definition I can give you, happens when you project a future outcome that is suboptimal. Let me say it again. When you project a future outcome that is less than what you think is optimal, than your pretty picture, than your expectations. And instead of coming at life like this is happening for me, you come at life like what you imagine that's suboptimal you operate like it's very likely to happen. And then what you do is you worry about the now to try to prevent the thing that you've made up in your imagination about the future from happening. That is how we carry. It's either about you, it's about someone else, it's about the world, it's about the wars, it's about the election, it's about anything. Okay? So, think about that as a definition of carrying. As though you first of all, there are thousands of outcomes that any situation can have. I'm going to give you an example. So, what we do is we adhere to the one and that is the most scary, and then we act like that's true, and then we carry. And the thing is, the laws of physics, as we expressed on the first and second day, the laws of physics say that at the instant that you have a problem, there has to be a commensurate answer. So again, who's driving the bus? Are you curious about solutions and what's yours to do? Remember the question from yesterday? Is this even mine to do something about? So now we're on the next. I've planned this very diabolically. Everything feeds into the next, right? So I want to talk about carrying yourself, and I'm going to talk about carry. But by the way, by the end of my conversation with that client, there was zero carry. She's actually excited because of the exercise we're going to do in a minute. Hold, please. Put a pin in that. All right. So, what happens when there's a health issue? So for me, being vulnerable with y'all, I got a little thyroid issue. I got Hashimoto's, my scores were through the roof. And there were extenuating circumstances that I can see why that happened. But one of the scores was just like, and then the doctor freaked out and, the internet freaks out about it. And I'm like, no, 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 no. The first place I went is to carry myself. So that's what happens when we're carrying ourselves. I project a future that's the worst case scenario instead of literally living into not a Pollyanna made up frou-frou woo-woo future, literally a future that I can believe is possible, which is not only is it possible, but it's highly likely that my body is communicating with me. It's actually giving me a communication. And interestingly enough, the entire communication was about carrying. And so this is my favorite topic right now. This happened for me. And I am deep in the curiosity. My husband's going through something really intense right now. And it would be so easy for me to try to leap to the rescue, try to fix it, try to, MacGyver it with my ability to holographic see. But if he's not asking, I'm not helping, right? He's got this. And so how you know you're not carrying is because you can say the words, that person's got this. They've got this, right? There's my husband jumping in. I ain't asking. So, what I want to say, I'm sure you guys are having a great journey with Adam and I right now through the 5 days so far. So we're going to do the exercise in 1 second, but what I want to tell you is what I've discovered about carrying and the exercise, and then we're going to complete for today. Tomorrow, I love you, tomorrow, we're actually going to talk about health, biology, and nutrition when you're going through intense times in times of great change. What is it that the body needs more of? So it's going to be a very practical day tomorrow. But carrying fits into it because the more you carry, the more of that nutrition you need. I'm telling you. The more you carry, the more you need to supplement all the nutrients you're using up because you're a stress puppy. You get me? Okay. All right, kids. So insight around carrying. The instant I realized that I had made up a future that has just as much of a chance as any other future. So I want you to breathe and think about something or someone that you carry. Are you making up a future? Are you making up a future that's part of thousands of futures to happen? That's question 1. Question 2 is it possible that another future could be an outcome? Question 3 is, especially with your health, could this situation, health or otherwise, be a symptom of something other than what you're afraid of? Because as soon as you get afraid, you go into your amygdala. When you go into the base of your brain, what happens is you're in fight or flight. You instantly unplug from the 99.139% of you that has access to the resources of the entire universe, because now you said, I'm the only one that can do anything. So now you stopped receiving. So that's why we want to get out of the worst case scenario. You get me? Last but not least, you got to ask yourself, is there a way? In the entire universe, am I willing to be more interested in the possibility that there's a way? Because if you are, then we've already talked about how to get yourself to a place where something other than your fears are driving the bus. And then the last question, especially when it involves someone else, but this also works when it involves you, is, am I willing to declare that they've got this? That they've got this. They have their own connection to their own innate wisdom. And in fact, by thinking that they don't have this, I'm actually contributing, I'm actually causing doubt over there in them. I'm doing the exact opposite of what I wanted to do. So, am I willing to actually know that they've got this? And when it comes to you, are you willing to know that you've got this? Are you willing to know that you've got this? That in your connection to your heart, and yes, please go back to the beginning because they're all going to feed, they're all on YouTube, guys. I know Adam's already ready to post the YouTube link, but they're all on replay on YouTube. I really recommend that you go back and listen from the beginning because this is so going to help you through these crazy times. Who knows what's going to happen to this world on the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th? You know, everything that's going on is intense. Either you're going to be a victim of this world, a victim of your mind, a victim of being pulled out by other people, which is why we're doing all of this. That's why we're coming together, because we are one global community. I just did an article on my Facebook page, the / Jennifer Hough one. And in that article, I said, you know, I was born Canadian. I moved to the United States and I wrote a little love letter to the United States. You can go and read it there on the / Jennifer Hough page. And then I said, but I really consider myself, when people ask where am I from, I say planet Earth. Really, I've traveled all around the world, I think at least twice. And I have to say, planet Earth is my home. I have loved every single culture, every place I've been. It's been extraordinary and continues to be. So, guys, those are the 6 questions to ask yourself and then answer. And if you need to ask them 5 times a day, do it 5 times a day till it becomes your default to stop thinking that other people in your life don't have this. Because if they don't have this, you're literally contributing to them not having it by doubting their ability to get their answers. Sometimes with my sweetie, I say something like, can I offer a perspective? And sometimes he says yes, and sometimes he says no. And I can't carry that. And it may not make a fig of difference to him anyways, but I trust that he's going to listen to it through his filter. All right, you guys. So that's the exercise. It's those 6 questions. Let's just breathe. Take our consciousness behind your eyes. By the way, when you carry someone else or the world or the ecology or the environment or politics or anything, what happens is your consciousness is not in your body and it goes outside of you. You have no power when your consciousness is outside of you. When your awareness is being pulled by something outside of you, you are not present to the miraculous potentials that exist. You've pulled yourself out of the, no one's driving your bus. That's why the exercise every day at some point is bring your consciousness behind your eyes. All right, guys, you know what tomorrow is. You know that every day we're here. Every day you can join us on either LinkedIn / Jennifer Hough, linkedin.com / Jennifer Hough. You can go to Facebook / the Wide Awakening or / Wide Awakening. And certainly you can watch the replays on YouTube. Absolutely share the replays with a friend. Share this one with a friend. Make sure you like and follow us because we always do cool stuff like this that really is in love and assistance to humanity. We take some exercises from some of our programs, or we do something, and just this was a total give. This is a total and Instagram, Adam. Yes, and Instagram, the Wide Awakening Instagram. It's awesome. All right, you guys. So I hope today was good. I would love to hear from you right now. What was your favorite thing about today? What did you get? What did you hear? What was good? What was juicy? What did you need to hear? What did you feel like it was just for you? I said it, and it was like I was talking right to you. Some people, like my mom, had never made the distinction that she carries everything, everyone. She's just a massive love bug. And care turned into carrying. Care just added an RYING because what happened is her love and her care and her thoughtfulness turned into my heart's big enough and I'm so capable and I've got the wherewithal to do this, so I'm, I am going to do it for someone else. It's interesting she does it mostly with her kids. Otherwise, she's brought people from Ukraine to her little town of Bracebridge, Ontario, and helped them. I was gonna finish off with a story about my dad while you guys are writing, what did you need to hear for yourself? So, I wanted to share, my dad does not carry, and my sister has, this thing called Storybook that you give to people when they're in their wisdom years, your parents in their wisdom years, and they start writing about their life, responses to questions that you don't know. And I get this thing whenever my dad decides he's gonna write an answer to a question, I get this thing in my inbox. And yesterday I got this, haven't posted it yet because I wanted to share it with you guys first. My dad shared that do do everything that you want. Don't worry about what other people think. Follow your heart. Make sure you pursue your dreams. Make sure you are don't be sorry, don't regret things. Just know that they're in his I'm going to say it in our language, which is know that it's either a redirect or it's what's supposed to happen right now. And thank you for sharing, by the way, what you're getting out of today. It really means a lot to me. It allows me to see what we're doing. Again, that's what I got from my dad, and I thought, "Oh, yeah, that's where I get that side of me from." I didn't know my dad thought that way until he wrote it. But that's an inspiration from someone who doesn't carry anything. It's like, "I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna figure out a way." Right? And so, yeah. So, I love that. My dad's just a human being like everybody else. He has his foibles, but I love my sister for making sure that I got to know my dad a lot because he's 85 years old. So you guys, just appreciative of you being here today. Make sure you share this event with other people. Have them comment 5:55. Put it in your calendar. Make sure it repeats. We'll go well after November 5th. We have an upcoming workshop called the Embodiment Workshop. We're even going to go after that. So, so this is for everybody. This is something for everybody. So make sure you give it a share. I love you guys. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for sharing what you're getting out of these. And please put comments. And like I said, like and follow us and sign up for the notifications in YouTube so you'll know when we're going live. And I read your comments. So put your comments in there. If you got something really great out of one of the YouTubes, that really helps us. It helps me. And I'm glad you love these, Rebecca and Anne and Manuela and Sylvia. And, we've got people from Europe. We've got people from just everywhere, all over the world. I'm just really, really having fun having you all here from Canada and the United States and Germany and yeah, every walk. All right, you guys, till next time. Love you. Mwah. You're welcome. Bye, guys.